So let's talk about DeLaSoul. Now, I think it's common knowledge that DeLaSoul has always been a counterculture group. Trugoy, Maceo, and Posdnos, or however the hell you say his name, set themselves apart from common hip-hop archetypes from the very first time they caught the public eye in 1988. They bucked the trends and aesthetic gimmicks that so many artists were following just to fit in and stay relevant. In fact, DeLaSoul was one of the few crews to survive the great hardcore rebrand of the early 90s that swallowed up so many lighthearted hip-hop groups at the time. Now, of course, you could mainly place the early 90s stuff in the jazz rap category, but despite the relaxed, tuneful melodies of their songs, they were just so experimental with how they weaved samples through off-kilter jazz beats and lyrics with weird, unconventional rap flow switch-ups. Hell, they even featured 2 Japanese MCs on their album that they gave a solo track to at a time when no one in hip-hop could even name a Japanese rapper. Now, if you know one DeLaSoul song, it's probably Me, Myself, and I from their debut album. And while that song's an undeniable earworm, re-listening to their third album for this review got me to really understand just how much they were a challenge to the status quo of hip-hop with how they evolved their sounds. It's experimental, but not in a way that's in your face about it. It feels like they're not only using the jazz rap moniker, but legitimately picking up the mantle of hip-hop as the next evolution of jazz, and then pulling a Miles Davis Bitches Brew move to expand the sound even further. So let's kick back with the oddball chameleons of 90s hip-hop with today's request, Ego Trippin' Part 2. See, already we're getting an example of the experimental playfulness I'm talking about. There's that low-key, jazzy beat, and the sound of someone walking for the percussion is a nice little added creative touch. Just a cool, chilled-out vibe. Oh, what the hell? What in the hell's going on? I realize DeLa's known for experimental shit, but this is just fucking bonkers. Okay, so from what I can gather, the song's supposed to be a parody of hip-hop tropes at the time, with the intro being a joke on the loud, screaming, rah-rah hardcore rappers of the early 90s like Onyx. But okay, he's putting us in the role of being that over-the-top character, and maybe you think it's gonna be a thing where he references these different rappers while rapping as a sellout MC.
How you do? I got the talk to make you jump.
Like, okay, he started out with the Onyx-like intro, and now he's referencing Jump by Crisscross, another song with a really shouty hook. And in fact, the more you listen to the song, the more you can catch references to other song lyrics and rhyming cadences.
Sometimes I fast one off like a seal.
When they reminisce over you.
For real.
But if you're really paying attention, the references don't, make a lot of direct sense for why they're referencing them.
Skirts play with it cause I'm slick like that. I'm the greatest MC in the world.
Yeah, I've seen people say this is supposed to be a reference to Diggable Planets, but, they're a fellow abstract jazz rap group, so I wouldn't exactly consider them a typical example of mindless sellout brag rap shit. So to bring them up before saying that next lyric just doesn't make a lot of immediate sense, especially if you think the song's supposed to be calling out whack MCs of the time who just brag about how much money they've got. And in fact, I don't even know if it's supposed to be focusing on rappers of the day, because they actually spend a substantial amount of time doing old school rap references.
And who's the foot? I'm the foot, but who's stepping? You know what I'm stepping?
Like, what? Are you supposed to be a foot now? I don't get it. And it's not like he's referencing things but adding new meaning to them or taking them to the next level as wordplay. A lot of the references feel like they were just kind of clumsily jammed in there.
Watch the way I say it, ego trip. I changed my pitch up, smack my bitch up.
And I know what you're thinking. Oh, he's supposed to be calling out the misogyny in hip-hop at the time, so that lyric must be a reference to a recent song, right? But no, that's not the case, because the line he's sampling is from an 80s song from the Ultramagnetic MCs.
Change my pitch up, smack my bitch up, like a pimp.
And wait a minute, when you keep listening to the line in the DeLaSoul song, he kind of muddles things by taking back what he said.
I changed my pitch up, smack my bitch up, I never did it.
Oh, so he's not smacking his bitch up? So he's not portraying the misogynistic rapper now? Which is it? There's no real consistency in the song and who I'm supposed to think you are. And by the way, DeLaSoul never made a part 1 to this song. The title's actually a direct reference to the original song of the same name by the aforementioned Ultramagnetic MCs. So, okay, this can't be a diss then, right? Because they named the song after that one as a loving tribute, and the single art for it specifically looks like it's calling back to those old school hip-hop block party flyers. So he can't be saying that bragging was bad, is he? I mean, I guess not every song has to have a grand thesis about it, but this one's just so disjointed and incoherent, it's hard to make heads or tails on a through line for what's actually going on in the song. Like, I want to say they're saying that bragging in general is a bad thing, but then they reference a couple of their own brag songs.
Pack the holes in my lawn, the girls in my song, word is born, I'm a living phenomenon.
Like, Potholes on My Lawn was a DeLaSoul song about how rappers in the industry are like potholes because they're a blight to the rap game. But in this song, which is supposed to be joking on that, you reference yourself by saying you are packing the holes in the lawn, as in taking out the MCs, making the game worse. And if this is supposed to be a satire, then why would your character be the character who's fixing things? Wouldn't you be exemplifying one of the potholes in the lawn? And the lyrics immediately following that are about having all the girls and shit, so I'm guessing he's still in character of that misogynistic rapper, right? I don't know, it's just overall so loose and random. It's like they wanted to get a big hit by reusing popular hip-hop catchphrases ironically as some sort of way to give the song an anti-mainstream edge to it, but without really, like, actually saying anything. At least in the Me, Myself, and I song, you see them pushing back against the general tough guy aesthetic that was a prominent part of a lot of 80s hip-hop. But with these vague, aimless lyrics, it sounds like someone got into their ear and told them to not be too specific with any actual commentary, you know what I mean? Even the music video is kind of lightweight stuff. Like, it's basically a cheesy, half-finished version of what the Roots would end up doing in their What They Do video to much greater effect. And that's not just me saying the video looks kind of low effort, that's DeLaSoul saying that. Apparently, they ended up not having much budget and time for the music video, so they only ended up shooting very little of the bigger concept video they were going for. And unfortunately, the limited visuals that ended up making the cut made the video look like it was specifically supposed to be a send-up of the I Get Around video by Tupac. Yeah, DeLaSoul got into a little hot water with the West Coast legend over the perceived diss with how this video looks. So like, instead of the video saying rappers in general in the mainstream rent their mansions and jewelry and don't have as much money as they say they do, it seems like they're saying that specifically about Tupac. And yeah, when you look at them side by side, it does kind of make sense. And when you're the famous person who's being talked about, especially for maybe selling out by doing an MTV pool party music video, yeah, I can see how you might take it personal. However, the end of that story is, apparently Tupac's sister got in contact with them a few years ago and told him Pac always had love for DeLaSoul, but just felt particularly hurt when it felt like out of nowhere he was being singled out by a group he respected. So it made him lash out in anger before thinking. And she let them know he never really hated them on any level like that. And how could you hate him? Like, come on, it's DeLaSoul. They named their peace-loving movement the Daisy Age. Trugoy the Dove's first name is yogurt spelled backwards. These guys wouldn't harm a fly. But I do wish they had at least a couple of fully formed barbs for the mainstream in a way that was direct, you know? And look, I know I'm supposed to be the kind of guy that automatically likes any song that's anti-mainstream, but I want the lyrics to still have some actual bite to them, damn it. Like, I get that DeLa can be a little abstract at times, but this is just too vague and all over the place as a song to come off like a diss or any kind of critique of the rap game. Although I will say I think this lyrical sample sounds way cooler in this song than in any other.
Now I'm something like a phenomenon. I'm something like a phenomenon.
Like, I could've swore the LL Cool J song came out before this, but no, DeLaSoul was sampling that old school Melly Mel White Line song way before LL did it. Like, this is the beat I hear when I think of these lyrics. I legit thought it was the hook of the song for the longest time. And when I hear these lines, I hear the type of light parody this song could be, like with recycling phrases and putting them in an altered context, with the original song here having a social message advocating against cocaine in the 80s, and this lyric switching it up to be about how awesome the rapper is. But unfortunately, it doesn't really do that.
Now people stop taking my style and for a joke I don't sassafras. I put the foot up the ass.
Sassafras? What the hell? Like, with goofy lyrics like this, it ultimately makes it seem like the real joke is just the general idea of a passive group like DeLaSoul doing a hardcore brag track in the first place. And maybe that would work if they would have focused on the lyrics more and the song didn't just fall apart at the end.
I am the is equals is cause it's caught up when the tide taught me the ropes.
What?
Pressure 40 doesn't like an easy baker oven. Blues got the muffin. Blues got the muffin.
Blues got the muffin? What's going on?
Promoting of a moccasin, I skin like Danny Boone when I swallow hither. So give me room.
I legitimately can't tell what's happening in the song anymore.
Ego trip.
Oh yeah, and then the screaming.
Ego trip. Ego trip. Ego trip. Ego trip. Ego trip.
Okay, didn't think anything would be more unsettling than the screaming, but Prince Paul at the end there, calmly asking who's crying while the manic screaming occurs, definitely up the uncomfortable factor a bit there. Overall, despite them being such an iconic group, I gotta give this one a 2 out of 5. It's one of those things where a socially conscious rapper attempts to cinch up these mainstream rappers, but the guys are clearly not comfortable in their ability to mimic the style and mannerisms in a way that doesn't feel awkward and forced. The beat is okay, and it's fun and creative in similar ways to the other songs from the Balloon Mind State album, but this one in particular just feels so toothless in its delivery of what they're doing. It just never quite hits at the right pitch you hope it would. It's just an unsatisfactory listen that sounds like it's gonna flip a bunch of cliches on their heads, but things got kinda muddled and it ended up as just an assorted gumbo of random hip-hop catchphrases more than anything. Well, that's the episode. And goddamn, I'm glad y'all set it off, cause Wu-Tang is my shit! I just can't start a video about a member of this group without pointing out how legendary the whole clan is. It's no exaggeration to say these guys were true innovators of the 90s hip-hop scene, prolific in every sense of the word, at every angle you look at their legacy. Just lyric-wise, their uncompromising vernacular felt like a world unto itself. Their rhymes were often dense and filled with outlandish slang and phrases with complex, deeper meanings that invited curious ears to dissect and understand just what the heck they were talking about. In concerning song construction, they completely upended convention. Songs would frequently start with excerpts from kung fu movies, weaving the samples in like a tapestry to establish the aesthetic of their raps being a soundscape of lyrical martial arts. In fact, even the title is a reference to the common meaning of what shadowboxing is. You're not actually fighting anyone, you're just showcasing your abilities. And when you're in a booth not really going at anybody, that's what writing battle raps in the studio is akin to. See, they consider their tongues to be like proverbial swords, hence the name of GZA's album, Liquid Swords. So that's how they approach writing their parts, with every joint feeling like an actual live rhyme cipher where everyone was trying to legit outdo each other with their verses, turning out epic posse cuts with seemingly endless rhymes that made their true size as a group feel huge and mysterious, oftentimes with no catchy hook to ground the song. Now, for anyone who doesn't have the whole Wu-Tang lineup memorized, the main connecting tissues of the group are RZA, GZA, and Old Dirty Bastard. They were the three related cousins who essentially brought the rest of the crew together. Old Dirty was the wild frontman and my personal favorite as a kid for the longest time, and RZA was the beatmaker and handled the business side of things. But the genius, aka the GZA, he was the grand master of rhyme, a wordsmith penning lyrics you can really visualize.
You know woods robbing, snipers, doing sight. Like they escape before them flash the lights. Gunshots shatter first floor window panes. Shells hit the ground and blood stain the dice game.
He was the one who taught RZA, and by extension the rest of the group, how to rap, and was the yardstick by which every other rapper in the group's skill was measured. Hell, just hearing the first line of his verse on this song immediately keys you into the craftsman-like way he constructs his rhymes.
I slayed them C's back in the rec room era. My style broke motherfucking backs like him for terror.
Starting with a wrestling reference to a mofo known for putting his victims into submission, alluding to his lyrical ability to do the same. And as he goes on, each line is imbued with the weight and gravity his vocal presence carries, with a rigid workman flow layered with frequent imagination-sparking imagery.
Check these non-visual tapes in a portrait. But the seminar trying to orbit this corporate industry. But what them can't see must break through like the whoop unexpectedly.
And today's song is a super pertinent example of their convention-breaking nature. Cause he's not the one who starts the song, it's actually MethodMan. That's right, Meth, the typically more lighthearted rhymer of the group, steps up first on a single meant to be for the super serious Genius album. But that was all part and parcel to how the RZA wanted people to experience the Wu, blowing up how a rap group was supposed to function. See, individual Wu members would put out solo albums, but they'd be peppered with a whole bunch of verses from the other members, and different Wu members could be signed to traditionally competing record companies. So now all these different companies would be working in tandem to expand the Wu-Tang Clan's collective reach, any solo albums operating musically and financially like a finger extending from the hand of the Wu-Tang conglomerate. So when Meth starts a verse on a single for a GZA album, they're intentionally playing it so you still feel the weight of the rest of the group, to where solo LPs feel like group albums, just with more emphasis on certain members. And Meth's presence here is actually a bit of a break from convention for him as well. See, up to this point, he was the more high-energy guy. Like, if there was a hook on a track, it was usually him doing it, along with more fun, jokey bars.
My peoples, are you with me where you at? In the front, in the back, killer bees on attack.
Like, his first single as the breakout star of the group had more in common with the pop culture sputtering goofiness of a Das FX or a Fooshnickens.
So Peter Piper, I'm hyper than Pinocchio's nose, cause I'm a supercalifragilistic tic-tac-pro.
Chim chim money, chim chim cherry. Freak the flow and flow fancy free. Now how many hits does it take for me to hit the Tootsie Roll center of a break?
But for this track, he experimented with his flow to match the tone of GZA's project, taking more advantage of the hazy sound quality of his vocals to exhibit a more relaxed, low rumble of a delivery.
I breaks it down to the bone gristle. Ill speaking, scud missile, heat seeking. Johnny blazing, nightmares like Wes Craven. He's gunning, my third eye seen it coming before it happened.
His way with words is still playful and loose, but you can hear a sneer in his voice that adds a more sinister color to his shit talking, as he brags about how the Wu has completely taken over the industry.
You know about them statin kids, they smashing everything, in any shape, form, or fashion.
Meth is clearly just having fun jumping from one rhyme to the next, less of a verbal tactician like GZA, and more playing it like a lyrical capoeira, dancing around the track with an ever-evolving rhyme scheme, often introducing internal rhymes in unexpected places that shift around the flow of his cadence like a slithering snake.
Know just what the fuck I'm doing. Rap insomniac, being to catch a nigga snoozing. Slip the cardiac, arrest me. Exorcist hip-hop possess me. Crunching like a Nestle. You know my stage, burning to a third degree.
Like, you can't tell me you don't wish you were as cool as this motherfucker sounds.
No time for sleep, I get deep as a baritone. Killer bee that be holding down his honeycomb. Lounging, son.
Now, of course, GZA comes through eventually and definitely represents.
protect your neck. My sword still remains imperial. Before I blast the mic, RZA scratch off the cereal.
But then Meth comes back in with another jaw-dropping verse.
When my mind starts to twist, and the strategy is mastered, the plot thicken. It's me that bullshit. I don't give a cotton picking. Fuck about a brother trying to size a nigga up. I hold my own. Hard habit kept it going.
That's right, Meth returns for the third verse, with the kicker being, there's no also second verse for the GZA. The track starts and ends with Method Man. The reason being that, despite it being for the GZA's album, the skill exhibited in Meth's verses as he was going off were just so undeniably untouchable, RZA just felt it was finished the way it was. Which is insane to think of, because like I said, the genius is supposed to be the grand MC, the one with the main reputation for flawless, breathtaking lyrics. But here was Meth, clearly having fun, but nonetheless all but literally wrapping circles around the most celebrated lyricist of the group. But it just went to show how integrated they were into each other's music, how inextricably bonded they wanted to come off as a unit, that the guy who singled this is only on maybe a third of his own song, because it's not about one individual member, it's about the collective, and what genuinely works to make the dopest cut. Now in the music video, we don't get to hear the third verse, it actually just smash cuts to another song.
So the charge is 20 G's a session.
That's right, without any warning, they launch right into Fourth Chamber, a more alarming up-tempo track that I also love. And it's probably the best example of a cross-promo video, a tactic that a lot of rappers would do to usually irritating effect as years went on. Like sure, it's a great marketing tactic, 2 songs in one video helps boost the visibility of a less popular joint. But there'd be so many times where I'd hear that such and such song I liked actually had a music video, and I'd be like, oh word, I didn't remember that, only to look it up and see, oh yeah, it was just a tacked on segment at the end of a video for a more popular song.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to with. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to with. New radio working for you. Call shame on the loop. So everybody, watch out there. Shame on the loop. Who tried to run game on the loop? Your razor, hit me with the major, the damage, my plan, understand?
But with this mashup, it feels like it's being purposefully done to enhance the overall cohesive feel of the video. Because first off, they actually play a significant portion of both songs, so that's nice, but also because one song feels like a foil for the other. The first track is slower and more menacing, like soldiers creeping through an ominous fog, while the second track ramps up the energy with a driving electric guitar and manic synth wails, simulating the charging feel of the war breaking out like they show in the video. In fact, the first song even kind of starts like it's a soldier pledging loyalty to their homeland. But yeah, the battle is on, as the one and only Ghostface Killah kicks things into high gear with his hyper-animated delivery and heightened larger-than-life descriptive brag raps that often inexplicably slide into unpredictable abstract tangents. Like, this opener is a perfect example of how his rhymes hit you.
The only man a whole wait for is the Sky Blue Valley Kid in 83 Rock Taylors.
Because at first, this sounds like a weird abstract bar, right? Like what, is he talking about being in service to some golden child from beyond the stars that he takes orders from? But no, this is him proclaiming his loyalty to the only dude whose flyness he respects enough to put his neck on the line to sell drugs for. Himself! As he uses the third-person perspective to brag about his flavorful fashion choices. Rocking shoe wear and designer jeans the average dude wouldn't have the fashion wherewithal to even know about. With Valley's just being a comfortable shoe he likes, but Taylor's being an upscale designer jean label the envy of the New York streets in the 80s due to the brand's original location being in Brooklyn.
The kid whole white, like Black's rock ashy legs.
But just when you think it's all about drugs and flex and fashion, things actually start to slip into more complex territory, with weird pondering non-sequiturs about like science and religion.
Why is the sky blue?
Well, isn't it something about like when the chemicals are released from the...
Why is water wet?
I don't know. Liquids, wait, does water count as being wet? Because the property of wetness...
Why did Judas rat the Romans while Jesus slept?
Oh, wow, that's really a lot to think about. Like, geez, what kind of mindset do you have to be in to believe a guy's the Messiah, yet you still sold him out for money anyways? Like, oh man, that's way too deep of a philosophical quandary to get into in a song about brag raps, and I haven't even gotten to the... There's still 2 other motherfuckers on the song! Although I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the little dig he gets in about the business side of things.
Promoters try to hold dough. Give me mine before Poe, wrap you up and so.
Because that was him being a little cheeky by throwing in the nickname for Polite, who was their manager, who they felt wasn't fair he was getting paid before them. So this was him, immortalized on record, saying, we should be getting paid before you pay the promoters. We're the reason people are buying these records, goddammit! But yeah, Ghost just effortlessly floats around the track, spitting rhymes like they're just bubbling over out of his brain, letting the words flow as they glide and twist over the beat as he self-mythologizes with epic imagery.
Iron Man be sipping rum out of Stanley cups, unflammable, Noriega, aiming nozzles, stay windy in Chicago, spine tingle, mind boggle. So I ran the dark ages, Constantine the Great, Henry the VIII, built with Genghis Khan, and Rex Wade while he gone.
Then Killah Priest pops up, a dope featured MC who's not actually part of the clan, but holds his own just as well against the official members.
My dome piece is like building stones in Greece. A poems are deep from ancient bones I speak.
Like, the word is Killah Priest was supposed to be an original member on the first album, but apparently dude was too high on angel dust or something to stay conscious enough to record, so Master Killah filled in the final verse under Mystery of Chessboxing instead, and the rest is history. But man, does dude not waste his opportunity here, spitting poetry that I dare say is just as epic as Ghostface, as he plays the role of a tacit observer of whack rappers who can't compare to his style.
I'm overwhelmed as my mind roams the realm. My eyes the visions, memory is the film. They act wild and couldn't budge a crowd. No matter how loud they get, though they growl and spit, clutch their fists and throw up signs like a crip.
And then the abbot himself, RZA, gets a verse, and even he goes the fuck off.
Camouflage chameleon, they're just scaling your building. No time to grab the gun, they already got your wife and children.
Sounds like you just got dropped in the middle of some action-packed blockbuster movie shit.
A hit was sent from the president to raid your residence because you had secret evidence and documents on how they raped the continents. And it's the prominent, dominant Islamic, Asiatic, Black Hebrew.
I think all those adjectives made sense together. Although I do have to say, RZA does kind of slur and jam his words together at times. Plus he repeats some rhymes in a way that makes his part come off just a little sloppy.
Unload your snakes, get forward and rolling lakes of hot oil. Uncoils your skin, chicken heads getting slim like olive oil.
Like, despite that whole bluster of words, you essentially just rhymed oil with oil.
Only plant the seed deep inside produce soil, fortified with essential vitamin and minerals.
And what... Nigga, are you telling me how to plant crops right now?
12 tribes, 144,000 chosen. Protons, electrons always cause explosions.
Oh yeah, and that was his sign-off. A backronym for the word peace, sprawled out into words for each letter like an army dispatcher using words like Echo and Bravo to do the same. Also, I've heard them say it as positive energy activates constant elevation, but you know, this is the action-packed song, so I guess this fits better. And then the genius comes in at the end to round out the track.
It ain't hard to see my seeds need guard degree. I got mouths to feed, unnecessary beef is more cows to breed.
Well, in the original song anyways, but in the video, its final verse actually gets cut out.
Cause explosions.
That's right, in a video for his own single, that he directed by the way, he cuts out his own verse. Probably ultimately to make it short enough to fit on a video block rotation, but even so, you gotta admire the guy intentionally putting the crew before himself on his own project. Just goes to show how much he really believed in the group, clearly caring more about the craft of the overall presentation over his own ego. And what a presentation it is. It all comes together like a visual metaphor for the strategic way they plan to storm the industry, showcasing various styles that are raw and rugged, but still highlights their unmistakably individual flavors as artists. Well, overall, I'd give both these songs my break the scale 6 out of 5 rating. They're both incredible tracks from an incredible album, and the video gives you a dynamic look into the array of dope styles and instrumentation, and like honestly, I'm just trying to end this shit as quickly as possible so I can go back to listen to this shit again, because it's a goddamn classic. So yeah, that's the episode. So, okay, I know you're ready to hear me rip on this guy, right? Because it's no secret, many folks considered him to be the laughingstock of the South. The guy you pointed to when you wanted to dismiss Southern rap as a bunch of low-effort imitations of what the more respectable New York and California rappers were doing. And hey, no argument here, he definitely was about as bad as people remembered. Like, while as a person from the South I want to give him props for his hustle in building his own musical empire, the criticism he got was pretty fair in terms of what to expect from a No Limit Records production. For rappers who are always bragging about their cash flow, everything always came off cheap and tacky, from their garish, crowded album covers to the rinky-dink sounding music production. And at the heart of it all was the fact that Master P was just a pitiful excuse for a rapper.
1, never talk on the phone in your house. 2, never slang dope out your baby mama's house. 5, never pay. Pimp hoes for the pussy. That's the American way.
His flows always sound like he's just teetering off the groove of the beat and rarely ever deviated from basic rhymes about money and just how much of it he's getting. And whenever it did, they'd veer into these chintzy, dedicated to the homie songs that were essentially coasting off the vibes of Diddy's I'll Be Missing You and especially Tupac's more somber joints.
So many homies gone, tryna ball till they fall. Now I'm left with nothing but old cars and a bunch of pictures on the wall.
Like, tell me this doesn't sound like an imitation Pac delivery, trying to ape on the way he flowed when he delivered the rhymes. Seriously, quality-wise, it's just so many steps up from
I really miss my nigga.
Plus, at the beginning of the album version of the song, this awkwardly long intro is attached, and it always felt like such a perfect example of dumb skit ideas rappers think are funny.
Who this is? Who this is?
Nigga, this rapper from Tay. Who's this?
Oh, this P.
P?
Yeah, this P.
P?
Yeah.
Cause you see, it's someone pretending to be Master P to get access to the record label, but they get shut down because they couldn't say his catchphrase right.
P, let me hear you say, This ain't no motherfucking P.
It's like, oh yeah, because only one man says, the way Master P says, except no imitations, apparently. I mean, what? You dare think that you can pee the way he pees? Your penis is nowhere near as incredible as the master. Despite all that preamble, though, I still do have to say, today's track is an absolute fucking banger, and I ain't trying to hear any second opinion about it. Like, sure, joke on the chorus for a silly catchphrase all you want, but you know what it meant. He was dropping shit that was gonna hit you so hard you're gonna react like you physically just took a gut punch. Also as a reference to that Funk Box Party song by the MasterP Committee. Although the people that joke on it do have a point about his stiff, dead-eyed vocal delivery that often makes the hook come off like a groan of irritation. I mean, there's a thin line of inflection between making him say, because you're impressed, and making him say, because you're annoyed with something. And with Master P's routinely basic rap style coming in here just as underwritten and average as ever, yeah, it's hard to figure out which emotion you're supposed to feel sometimes. That said, when he raps, there's at least a theme going on here, and some command in his voice, so it sounds like Master P's rapping like this George S. Patton type general barking orders at his subordinates.
Nigga, I'm the colonel of the motherfucking tank. Y'all have the big things, we have the big bang.
I mean, I feel like going after big things would be about the same as going after Big Bank, but okay, whatever. And while he keeps pace with the beat more than he usually does, with frankly way more energy than he typically brings on a track, it's still in the absence of any really clever punchlines or flows that don't feel a little herky-jerky on the edges.
If he pull his strike, commander-in-chief. If fools run around, I'm knocking out some teeth.
Also, the cartoonish sound effects in the edited version don't exactly lend it any dignity. I don't even think that silly noise right there is directly censoring anything. I think it's just there in the edited version as a goofy personification of someone's tooth getting knocked out.
Breaking fools up as I'm a no-limit soldier. And he's a salute, dip, pass me the doja.
Also, wait, does he want them to be at ease before telling them to salute? That feels like the wrong order. Gentlemen, at ease. Oh, okay. Now salute. Oh, shit. Sir. Oh, shit, sir. But he's the head of the label, so you know what's going on. Like all other producers who can't help but hog up a bit of the spotlight, like Diddy or Baby Birdman, he's the business mogul who has the resources to put his team on, so he gets to be the face and, most unfortunately, the voice of the company. However, most of the quality we did get out of his record label is credited to who he put on, which did just happen to be some of the most talented MCs from the South. Sure, they were mostly his cousins and kinfolk, so not every member of the roster was S tier, but anyone who's responsible for putting Mystical on the map definitely deserves their props. Dude was a fucking Cajun Tasmanian devil with his manic hyperactive flow and a gruff commanding voice like a deranged Baptist preacher, and he racked up quite a list of hits well into the 2000s. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mia X, the first lady of the label who definitely holds her own lyrically for every track I checked out whenever listening to him. Seriously, if you don't know about her, check out her tracks I'll Take Your Man 97, The Ghetto Sarah Lee, and her verse on Bout It 2, where she actually raps over herself rapping another verse, and that actually kind of works.
Representing, putting it down for the South. Keep a shank in my sock and a boot in my mouth. So don't doubt the way the angel-like voice comes across. Get your cucumber sliced in your messy hoe.
Suffice to say, as much as it feels easy to dunk on what now in retrospect looks like just the hip-hop Tyler Perry, just doing the cheapest production to extract maximum profit from a lowest common denominator type audience, a lot of their label's material, at least when Master P wasn't rapping, was actually pretty solid, with this track being a star example. Unfortunately though, there's like 5 verses on the song, and 2 of them are guys that kinda sound like Mystical, but it's not, so it always kept throwing me off when I was younger. Like, oh wait, that's it. Oh, no, that doesn't sound right. Oh wait, that's it. Oh no, that definitely doesn't sound right. Oh wait, that's a chick. Oh wait, there he is. That said, the next MC Fiend is actually pretty serviceable, especially with the hype he brings to his wordplay at the start of his verse.
Is right, exorcism busting out the extradition. Bullet chopping haters business about the size of prison. Our mission, very scary, no limit mercenary.
He really does help carry the theme of the No Limit group sounding like an actual paramilitary operation, invading the game and claiming territory.
They intimidated by the round that a tank shoot, tank dog salute.
It's when we get to Silk the Shocker that things get the most awkward.
He gon' make you say, I'ma make you say, I'm not RB, but damn cheese to move this motherfucking crowd.
He's not awful per se, his flow just always sounds ever so noticeably shaky at parts, like he's trying to do what Mystical does, but doesn't have quite the technical discipline to really pull it off.
So, you type of nigga that promotes violence. You might be right side, step in the club and say something, get that motherfucker start to fighting.
He constantly sounds like he needed to do 2 takes to try to get things on beat, but both times he kept slipping his flow either too soon or too late from the downbeat of what he was going for, and he just wasn't confident enough in which one sounded better, so he just went with both. That said, his verse still has its fun parts.
Nigga make him say, nah, nah, nah. Don't trip, and I bust your shit, then after they say, nah, 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 nah.
Then of course there's Mia X, who keeps things rocking with a more than solid verse of her own.
Everything we see, keep it destroyed and cat. We got the industry locked. We can't be stopped.
Seriously, no notes on this one. It's just pitch perfect flows and punchy lyrics.
But here's the baby voice. It's the biggest mama mia. The unladylike diva. Lyrical man eater. Believer. I'm drastic. Our tactics is homegrown in the ghetto, so feel the wrath of this sister. It's like you're fighting 10 niggas. Stay in your place when you hear mama speaking. Cannon spray, clear the way when you see the tank creeping.
Seriously, guys, if you take nothing else from this video, definitely check out those tracks from her I mentioned earlier. Homegirl was a lyrical force on the mic, and I feel like I don't hear too many people talk about her, even in female rap circles, so I especially felt the need to make sure folks know. Then, of course, there's Mystical to take it home, with his verse sounding like just a cyclone of words coming at you. But he does slow down eventually to give us some fun earwormy bits.
True soldiers, we don't die. Keep rolling. Nah, 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 nah.
But as much as I want to heap praises on this track, I've got a bit of a random question for you. Have you guys ever watched Pootie Tang? Cause yeah, there was a moment in that movie where they played a remix version of the hook of this song, and I always thought it was just a bit they did for the movie, but nah, there's a full version of this remix, and quite frankly, it blows the original out of the fucking water.
Nigga, what? I'm on my motherfucking way right now. Come on in, nigga.
It supercharges the original beat, which already has this crazy fun sample flip of Apache by Sugar Hill Gang in it.
Come on in, nigga.
But on top of remixing that sound, the rappers re-record new verses where they specifically reference the original standout lines but pump up the energy and wordplay.
I told you I'm the colonel of this motherfucking tank. Don't let me get rowdy and start pulling rank. When I was busting out expeditions, you wasn't ready. Bringing lights off like Sandy, begging out the 470. Lyrically, I'm a steady. I think the threat and get ready. The excited crowded, rolling in mercenary. I'ma make you say, I'ma make you say, ah. But this time, I'ma get you out by saying, nah, 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 nah.
Oh yeah, can't wait to get to Mystical's remix verse. Today's final Mystical remix verse will be replaced with a Snoop Dogg cameo. Oh.
Last done, big dog, what's up, was handed. Nigga run up, we gon' tear the club up.
Okay, not exactly the same energy to ride out with, but alright. So while, yeah, the original gets a 4 out of 5 despite its flaws, the remix gets a definitive 5 out of 5. And seriously, you gotta get this shit in your workout playlist now. That shit is gonna pump you the fuck up. And at least until that Snoop Dogg bit, it kind of fizzles out from there.
He wanna no limit soldier, walks in the house. Nigga get him up so we can turn this bitch out.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just get mystical again. Well, that's the episode. So let's talk about a sample that was used a lot. Because I'm sure most of you watching this have no idea who In Too Deep is, and you probably haven't even heard this song before, but I bet you know the sax part. Taken from the song Darkest Light by the Lafayette Afro Rock Band, and of course famously sampled in the 90's Booty Club classic Rumpshaker by Wreckx-N-Effect.
You are listening to the sounds of...
Now, most of the time when people flip this sample, they leave it in the same rhythmic place as the original sample is, which is to say, the little snake charmy bit happens, then just a half a beat before the drums hit, it holds on the final note. It's used that way pretty much every time it's been sampled. From Public Enemy's Show 'Em What You Got to Jay-Z's, well, Show Me What You Got, most people just loop it and leave it, with the exception being Ice Cube's Friday, which does a flip on it that makes it almost unrecognizable. But listen to the placement for the sample in today's song, Back to the Hotel. Yeah, you hear how the snake charmy bit is now starting on the downbeat of the rhythm? That just doesn't work as well for me. I don't know about you, but that just seems like a bit of a step down from the original version's feel. Cause the little snake charmy bit is supposed to be the lead into the drop. The melodic bit kind of builds up the energy for the drums to pay off, but with this, the sample feels like it's just kind of stagnant in the groove of the beat. And sure, the James Bond-like rolling guitar underneath is cool and adds some life in there, but that sax placement still feels not as satisfying to the ear. It comes off like someone who wanted to flip the sample the same way they'd heard it before, but they didn't know what to do that would make an instrument play before the beat starts on their music production program, so they just gave up and had the sample start on the one of the beat. And you can tell they know it's getting a little stale by the end because they try to do stuff in the production to kick things up a notch, but it just doesn't work for me. Okay, guys, playing the sample more isn't what's gonna make it sound fresher. Although, I actually like it when the sample drops out for the verses and other stuff happens like the guitar bit and the beeper sample.
Hit the country club that picked up ML 80 West, back to the hotel.
And oh yeah, for those too young to remember, beepers were a thing that told you someone wanted to call you. You couldn't call them back though, you just had to hope there was a payphone in your area and also hope that you had enough change in your pocket to return the call. So yeah, remember that convenient way of living next time someone starts pining for the good old days of the 90s. But when these sounds are happening is when you gotta deal with the rap verses. And look, they're not awful, they're just not particularly interesting.
Beat town, brother, check it out, I'm about to Dick in hand, and shit that had you tucked down.
And sure, I get that these guys aren't trying to be hyper-lyrical guys or anything. They're just trying to be your average party boys chasing skirts and getting wasted. But even so, you can still put some effort into it. Have some punchlines, a funny story, some interesting wordplay, just something to make it worth coming back to as a track. But unfortunately, that's just not the case.
You're beside and you know how the song goes. In the back, sipping purple chongos.
Like, they bring up some stuff people from their region might know, like the Purple Chongos drink or the names of places, but for the most part, it's just not that engaging from line to line.
Don't look for trouble, but it always seems to find us 40 gripping, panty sipping, and the sphincter right behind us.
Well, panty sipping is a weird way to say eating pussy. At least I think that's what that means, but I have never heard that phrase before. I mean, girls' panties do get wet when they're turned on, but you have to, like, wring it out first. That just seems like slightly too much work relative to whatever weird sexual gratification you'd get out of it. He even says something that sounds like he's about to really tell a story.
In the saga of a few fellas. Oh, what the hell? I guess I better tell ya.
But the story they tell isn't really much more detailed than we met some hot chicks, then bought some stuff at a corner store before we smashed.
At the telly, folks was doing pipe work. Johnny C had his hand up on Billy's skirt.
And it's weird because the second verse starts off with them clearly at the hotel already.
A lot that in the corner started to flirt, and I knew that when she saw me, baby doll was gonna drop me.
But then it sounds like he leaves the hotel with the girl to get some more shit at the store.
Acid in my bottle, so I gotta get some more. Put the pedal to the metal, back to the liquor store.
Ah, okay, so you're just going to get more alcohol. And since he mentioned the acid at the bottom of the bottle, which is a reference to the harsher taste of the liquor in the last couple of sips when you don't shake it a little first, yeah, that means he's already drank a whole 40 and he's driving. Okay, well, that's not good.
We got the deals, now we're heading for the whole down. There goes the telly, so fella won't just slow down.
You know, when I was a kid and I heard rappers using telly all the time, I had no idea they were talking about a hotel. I thought they were talking about a television, like British people or something.
You know what I mean? When I'm feeling kinda funky, I say honky, straight going donkey.
Oh yeah, one of them is white, isn't he? I mean, when I first looked this up, I saw they were from Vallejo, California, so I just assumed they were both Latino, but nah, one of them isn't. Not that it informs the song or makes it any better or anything, it's just interesting to note when you first start watching the video and you just assume they're two white guys. That said, the white rapper has the first two verses with the Latino dude handling the third, but honestly, they sound just about as good as each other, so it doesn't really end up making much of a difference. I mean, it's not like the other guy's doing a whole bunch of Cypress Hill Spanglish rapping or anything. Although they are partially responsible for bringing us Baby Bash, that Latino rapper from the 2000s who had a couple of hits on him.
Back to the telly, I gotta get some new car.
Okay, now Rap Genius says they're saying new ka here, but no, dude, they're saying gotta get some new cot, like C-O-T, which was West Coast slang for pussy back then. That said, often people would say cock with a K at the end instead, which I think was people just doing that thing where you interchangeably say a word that sounds like another word because the unstressed final letter on both words sounds so similar you can barely tell the difference. Which, you know, hearing that mix-up is personally hilarious to me because it means there were so many homophobic macho guy rappers in the 90s talking about how much cock they wanted to get. Like, cock or cot? Like, which one did I say first? It's kind of hard to tell because of that super unstressed final consonant.
Fuck the ride in the front like a sick one, just in case we gotta bust a quick one.
Now here, Genius says this is them saying they're parked in a handicap spot because a sick one is a reference to people with ailments or disabilities, but like, wow man, that's fucked up. They need those spaces. And they say they're doing it just in case they gotta ride out real quick, and I mean, sure, their cars just might ride out real quick on a goddamn tow truck, so fucking good luck with that. Well, overall, I'm gonna have to give this one a 1 out of 5. It's just about banging hot chicks at a hotel, but there's nothing interesting or clever or funny that happens, so it just ends up feeling like a boilerplate garden variety 90s club rap song. And if their flows were a little more solid, I could give them props on that, but unfortunately, the lack of creativity with the raps and the sample really hinders the replayability of the track, and it makes for a bit of a hollow experience. Maybe it plugs in well as track number 6 on a 90s throwback playlist, but on its own, it probably only really does something for the people around Vallejo at the time who remember the names and the references they make. But other than that, it's just kind of an underwhelming track at the end of the day. Like, if you want to ruin Rumpshaker for your ears, sure, give it a listen, but outside of the region where they're from, there's no fun story, interesting lyrics. It's just an average guy rap joint that doesn't really have much going for it, sad to say. Well, that's the episode. Come on in, cop a squad. The name's McCritic. Rap McCritic to be precise, which as a detective you damn well better believe I am. I specialize in hip-hop cases, finding my clues by sleuthing into the digital back alleys of the less visited pages of the internet to root through the trash bins of our collective memories, hold songs of the past up to the clarifying lens of time, and see if they were worth all the hype we gave them in the first place. So when I got today's case, I was especially intrigued. The message was from a woman who requested I look into a curiosity called Let Me Clear My Throat by one DJ Kool. And it particularly threw me off because it came priority queued from someone who gave the name Taya and claimed to be the wife of the producer of the song and album for today's request. I dropped my weed vape in shock. I had never gotten someone who was so close to a case putting in a request before. I immediately took to the internet to do some searching. For a new weed vape first, I accidentally dropped it in a glass of apple juice, but after that I opened another tab to probe further into the rabbit hole of questions her letters sent me falling into. Because at first I wanted to know why. Why would someone so close want a bulldog like me snooping around their business? But what I wasn't prepared for was the onion of a story this turned out to be. Once one question got answered, it would peel back a layer to another question, and so on. Cause as I was listening to the track, I realized that so far in my life I had only heard the live version, and tried to find out if there was an original studio version that would have made the song popular in the first place. But after an increasingly repetitive search with perpetually misleading titles, it struck me. There is no studio version. Oh sure, a version without Slick Rick and Biz Markie is there, but there distinctly wasn't a version that sounded like it was a studio mix. The only thing I would find is a live version that was recorded for the music video. Which led me to the inevitable next question. If this video version is the only official version, how the hell do the people in the audience already know what the call and response parts are? I mean, as music listeners now, with the song retroactively implanted into our consciousness as a sports arena and cookout staple, we naturally assumed there would be crowds of folks singing along to it. But, well, there had to be a point where people didn't know about the song, right?
Some of y'all know how to do this, some of y'all don't.
Yeah, then this lyric especially started sticking in my craw, cause, well, how do these people know the words? How did we get from this song not existing to a video where an enthusiastic crowd already knows the words? Now I'm sure your thoughts were the same as mine. You're thinking at first maybe the studio version is the official version, and all the live sounding elements are all studio craft to make it sound like a live show, with the video made after to put the whole package together. But that's not it. Well, maybe you're thinking the audience was given the lines day of, so it's like the music video version of a laugh track that tricks you into thinking the song is popular from all the folks singing along to it from the get-go. But that wasn't it either. As I looked further into the case, I didn't realize just how much it was all gonna come swinging back to what was staring me in the face. The very reason for the song's existence, right in the title, all along.
Let me clear my throat.
See, in an attempt to get more acquainted with this style, I checked out the album the record is from, and came across another tune called 20 Minutes of Funk, a track that's, oddly enough, only 8 minutes long, but contains a conspicuous moment at the end.
Let me clear my throat.
And it was another shockwave to my system. Because according to the history books, this track dropped first, and in fact was on the album before Let Me Clear My Throat appears, which would mean the song that we now know here is not only sampling the intro from Hollywood Swingin',
Let me see those hands again.
and not only is the infamous saxophone sample itself a clipped moment from hip-hop producer 45 King, who took it from Marva Washington's Unwind Yourself, but technically, on Let Me Clear My Throat, he's sampling the other track of him sampling himself already doing that. Well, needless to say, this sent me spiraling into a sampleception, and I needed some ground beneath me, so I scoured the internet for any interview I could find to untie the Gordian knot of this mystery. The curiosity led me on a wild goose chase through a slew of internet hollow holes they call websites, where a guy gets paid to make a robot write articles on music they couldn't give two non-sentient shits about. Seriously, what is this? The song emphasizes the idea of people coming together to enjoy music. He wanted to express his innermost thoughts and emotions through music that would resonate with his audience. What the hell? These sentences sound like nothing more than an unfeeling machine desperately trying to capture the human emotion of enjoying live music. But ever lingering in my mind was the mad question. What was the secret behind what made him see this moment as the formula for mainstream success? However, in one of those robot-written screeds, I found a video link with some pertinent information that the article didn't even mention. An interview from the man himself that would bust this case wide open.
Okay, here's the story of Let Me Clear My Throat. Let Me Clear My Throat was born out of an accident.
See, according to him, he was performing his normal show, where he would transition to his hip-hop set from his go-go set, a music style native to DC that typically involves live pots and pans sounding percussion and a gruff voice at the helm, signified by the godfather of the style, Chuck Brown.
And she said,
Chuck, baby, don't give up.
she said,
Chuck, baby, don't give up.
and he said,
And just like you'd suspect, one night he actually did get some phlegm caught in his throat before he could speak in the middle of a transition.
I'm going through this, and this coughing thing that I was doing was because I was actually coughing, and I said, God damn, and so then I kept doing it, and the crowd started trying to mimic what I was doing with the, here we go again with this call and response thing that was not even planned at all, but I guess the crowd just started vibing with me.
So there it was in black and white, a genuine accident that turned into a moment because people thought he was doing it on purpose.
So then next thing you know, the next week comes around, and mind you, I was playing this club every Tuesday. People coming in, Kool, you gonna clear your throat again this week? Huh? What are you talking about? Oh, what I did last week? Yeah, why not?
So from just the tail end of that 20 minutes of funk joint, DJs were getting so much juice from the crowds that when he was asked to record the song live at a popular club in Philly, he had a built-in set of fans who were keyed in to know the bit, to hit the goddamn right after he does the coughing fit. Well, it all comes together now. Essentially, the man had the 90s equivalent of a TikTok moment and tried to parlay it into a full hit song, which, lucky for him, actually worked out. So in the end, the live recording aspect was the key to it all. The almost tangible energy of live performance, where spontaneous moments can spring forth in a way you could never have planned, that you had to be there to truly value the moment. But wait, I missed all these jokes and japes. I'd forgotten my initial question. Why would someone so close want a case like this revealed? What was the motivation? What did she want from me? Maybe there's a clue in the letter. What did... Oh, wait, does it say it was a request for a birthday video? Oh, well, alright, that makes sense. I probably could have read this letter a little bit more thoroughly. Well, anyways, happy birthday, man. Hope you had a good one. Hi, guys. Rap Critic here. And if you're confused by why I'm wearing this mask and why the hell I just made that noise, well, stay tuned, because you're the person who's about to get a hip-hop history lesson. But first, this video was requested by Josh. And if you'd like to request a song, album, or movie for me to review, you already heard what I said before. So let's talk about Third Bass. For those that don't know, this is MC Search and the Prime Minister Pete Nice, two of the coolest white guys of late 80s, early 90s hip-hop. Like, for real, you probably couldn't name a group of white dudes at the time more down with the culture than these guys. Nope, not even the Beastie Boys, because their early material was often considered by many hip-hop heads at the time to be frat boy posers putting on a gimmick. But Third Bass had clout from the jump as badass underground dudes who flipped dope, complex rhymes while also paying tribute to the roots of hip-hop first and foremost. Their songs were marked with how they'd frequently use their access to the spotlight to help guys like Nas and a slew of other upcoming talented black artists gain a footing in the industry, as well as how they were white MCs not afraid to call out how the racism of the day was leading to the hokey commodifications of hip-hop that a lot of people were taking notice of. That's right, folks, that's Third Bass's single diss in Vanilla Ice, with a phrase that became a staple for calling out sellouts who were watering down the sound of hip-hop with mediocrity.
You stole somebody's record, then you looped it, but now you're getting sued, kinda stupid.
And in the same vein, today's song is about the gas face, a term for the exaggerated recoiling stank face you make when you smell a rank fart, except instead you do it in response to the assholes of the world because, you know, they stink. But, you know, figuratively speaking. And so the song's lyrics function as an anthem for calling out douchebags, from the money men at record labels who take advantage of inexperienced young artists by fleecing them with dodgy contracts.
Put you on tour, put your record on wax. Trust me. Sign your life on the X. You exit X over once you really get a box of Newports and Puma sweat.
To calling out the baked-in anti-blackness of the current Eurocentric worldview.
Black cat is bad luck. Bad guys wear black. Must have been a white guy who started all that. Make the gas face. For those little white lies.
They make the point of flipping the script by saying that the ones in power who demonize these signifiers of blackness are indeed demons themselves.
Dismiss the myth that evil is not black but opposite spectrum. This done by red man with horns on his head.
And sure, it's kind of jokey the way they handle it, but they make points that still really resonate.
Lay down the ill plan, got all his helpers. Said make it snappy. Tell all the people that their hair can't be nappy.
Like, it's still an issue that black people have to deal with upper management discouraging black hairstyles for being quote-unquote unprofessional in the business world. And Third Bass back in 1990 was calling that out for the racist standard of beauty it always was. But as serious as these topics are, it still manages a really fun, loose energy throughout, aided by the wacky live-action cartoon of a music video that illustrates the points of the lyrics while packing in a bunch of fun cameos, including Kid and Play, DeLaSoul, and even a speaking part by Gilbert Godfrey playing the Weasley record exec at We Sell Records.
Oh, come in and sit down. So nice of you to come here and dress for the meeting, too. I like the hats. It's a very nice touch.
Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the special guest verse.
A special appearance by KMD's Sev Love X.
An artist you might know as goddamn MF motherfucking Doom before he became the vaudevillain we know him as today. Man, dude's always been this lyrical, huh? And apparently, he's the one who actually came up with the term gas face, as Pete Nice points out earlier.
On site, Sev Lover gave it the first light.
And it's from this guest verse that his group KMD was actually able to get a boost of visibility that helped promote their upcoming debut album. So yeah, the song then ends in a big fun hangout moment, with different people in the studio calling out who does and doesn't get the gas face. It's the early 90s, you knew the MC Hammer diss was coming.
What do we think about Hammer?
But there were also some names in there I didn't know for the longest time.
But PW Bumps gets a gas face.
Like this guy, who was apparently one of the government officials who helped perpetuate apartheid in South Africa. So yeah, he could definitely fuck right off. I also learned that Dante Ross is one of the A&Rs at Def Jam Records. But interestingly enough, MC Search actually balks against his gas face nomination. And instead gives the gas face to Leor Cohen, the boss who actually owns the Def Jam company.
Elroy Cohen gets a gas face.
Cause hey, why diss the underlings? I mean, it's the boss who's ultimately in charge of how the money moves. They're literally the ones who could make things fairer in the world and the workplace, but they won't because they want to keep more of the money to themselves. So screw them. Overall though, I give this a 4 out of 5. The music definitely sounds a little dated, but it's a fun, goofy, classic joint about everyone getting together to thumb their noses at the assholes of the world, and I can't think of a time when that type of energy wouldn't be needed. Well, that's the episode. Leave a like if you like because it helps, comment if you have something to say because it helps even more, and hit the subscribe button and the bell afterwards because the bell is what actually alerts you to new episodes. So do all that stuff, thanks for watching, and well, before I close out this video, I wanted to say this episode is dedicated to the memory of MF Doom, the supervillain. Thanks for giving us all the awesome music you gave us over the years. MF Doom does not get the gas face. But Rush Limbaugh gets the big gas face. Rotten hell, you fucking bigot. Okay, let's get into today's request for the 1991 kinda hit song, Pump It Nice and Hard by Icy Blue. Now, for the generously estimated 99% of you who heard this clip and thought, hey, I don't know who this is, but that beat sounds awfully familiar. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. Now, just to put this out there, sure, rappers sample the same beats sometimes. I mean, for God's sakes, how long of a playlist could you make just from the songs that sampled Atomic Dog? But listen to the original song Salt and Pepper was sampling. You can hear how clever it is the way they switched the beatwork from the original to make a new sound from it. So this isn't like we happen to sample the same popular song everyone knew from their childhood. No, this is ripping the specific way Salt and Pepper remixed that beat and giving the song an obviously similar name and background ad-libs. Like, come on, son. This is all but literally re-releasing a smash hit record with a white face on it to try to rake in more dollars. Honestly, my video title might be a bit too harsh. At least Iggy Azalea never tried to remake Super Bass. Over here looking like Julia Roberts if she did a rap single for the Pretty Woman soundtrack. Like, come on, son, get the shit out of my face. Even her rap name sounds like she was being primed as basically the female Vanilla Ice. Like, Icy Blue, come on, her record label's A&R team could have done better than that. All that said, though, removed from that context of being an obvious ripoff, does the song at least have enough charm to hold up on its own? Can the white girl get a chance to represent for all the white girls in scrunchies and leg warmers or whatever 80s trend hadn't died just yet by 1991? I mean, songs that are based on a gimmick can still be enjoyable or have their own merits to them, can't they? Well, let's take it from the top and see.
Come on, sit over here and let me tell you a little bedtime story.
What in the fuck was that? I'm sorry, it's just, what is up with Homeboy's voice?
Come on, sit over here and let me tell you a little bedtime story.
Like, is that supposed to be sexy? He sounds more like a drugged up Sesame Street character.
Come on, sit over here and let me tell you a little bedtime story.
But okay, once we get past that, we get into the song proper.
Rolling into town, I'm down for an evening of dancing. A little chit chat and lots of who's that? Several and frightened glances.
Rhyming dancing with glances. Like, really? You couldn't even wait till like the third or fourth line till you got to the half-ass rhymes? Just kick down the gate with a, yep, this is the level of quality control we're dealing with, folks. Like, alright then. But okay, as you listen to the verse, it's actually a bit of a story track about Icy Blue trying to find someone she can dance with, aka metaphor for sex, aka, you know, the metaphor she ripped off from the original song.
A guy looking fly said his name was Todd. He claimed to be a dancing machine.
But unfortunately, these cool guys who talk a big game just can't seem to measure up to her appetite for dancing.
But out on the floor, his results were poor, so you see, I had to take charge. I said, listen up, Jake, if they're going at your back and pump it nice and hard. Truth be known, that tone was good, but I wanted better. A guy who could pump it all night long in any kind of weather.
Then she comes across a nerdy looking dude who asks for a dance, and she decides, I'll give him a shot.
We started to dance, and to my surprise, this guy had pumping power. We were getting into it, and before I knew it, we'd been pumping for an hour.
And what do you know? The dude's so good at it, he's got her winded.
I was dripping sweat, my clothes soaking wet, when a request came from my partner. It says you're doing good, but baby, if you could, please pump it nice and hard.
So it's like, oh, this girl who is too much for all these cool guys comes across a dorky dude who outpaces even her. So the lesson for today is, hey, the cool guys may seem like they're gonna satisfy you, but sometimes it's the nerdy dudes who maybe been taking more time to study the dance moves, if you know what I mean. ladies. Okay, editor guy, cut out the part where I tried to put on the glasses back on one-handed. That didn't look as cool as I wanted it to look. But okay, overall, it's not a bad concept. Honestly, I give it like a 2.5 out of 5. It's serviceable enough as an inoffensive dance jam, but, you know, unfortunately, the listenability is kind of tarnished by the fact that it's constantly reminding me of an infinitely better song I'd rather be listening to. And unfortunately for her, this song's release probably suffered from some pretty bad timing. Like, maybe if this was right when Vanilla Ice broke through, she could have piggybacked on the success, but by mid-91, we were a little over a year into Vanilla Ice's reputation being ripped apart by critics from every angle. So while guys like Third Base and Beastie Boys essentially weathered it out because they either had a pre-established reputation or a sense of authenticity that endeared them to the rap audience, a white chick starting out by trying to glide into the game by remaking a black female rap group's hit song, yeah, that shit was not gonna thrive. Like, listening back through it, I can't even hate it that much, but man, it was a poor misstep to come out of the gate ripping off such an unmitigated classic. Keep in mind, Salt-N-Pepa released the song in 1987, less than 4 years prior, and at this point, they were still in the mainstream making hits. Songs like What a Man and Shoop hadn't even come out yet, so trying to repackage a song from basically the current reigning legacy female rap group was gonna get you side-eyed in the rap game. Seriously, just imagine a rapper in 91 trying to snag a hit by sampling the same beat as You Can't Touch This, and not getting tossed out of the game as the gimmick chaser they were. But hey, the shit clearly didn't work in this case, so they're soulless in that at least. In fact, this song isn't even the highest charting song she had. It was actually her second song. Oh man, this is just pure T-bad. Jeez, you know, maybe I take it back about ripping Salt-N-Pepa off. At least that first song was ripping off a cool song, so it had the residual coolness to carry it. This is just laughably incompetent, as she gets stuck in rap love songwriting 101 traps, like cycling through the very few workable words that rhyme with girl. And despite how much higher this single actually charted, it still wasn't enough for the label to feel justified in promoting her any further, so they scrapped any future plans, essentially relegating her to a footnote in the lasting success of Salt-N-Pepa's discography, and to the back of even the most 90th of 90s babies' forgotten memories. Hell, I don't even know how someone remembered this song long enough to request it. This is the kind of song you only remember if, like, you specifically had a show about one-hit wonders, and you wanted to cover this song, but you realized she technically had 2 songs that charted, so it wouldn't count, but you still wanted someone else to cover it because of what a silly piece of 90s cheese it is. But hey, look at the bright side. Back then, hip-hop culture may have been a little gatekeepy with who was allowed to flourish in the scene based on America's history of racism that whitewashed genres like rock and ska. But these days, casual white rap fans can freely pump their favorite subpar hip-hop music to the forefront and finally enjoy their watered-down mediocrity in peace. Well, that's the episode. So let's talk about the Pharcyde. Yes, thank you, editor person. I'm sure the audience will sing their praises for this very relevant reference. No, I mean the Pharcyde with a PH, an early 90s West Coast rap group known for laid-back jazzy beats and lighthearted rhymes during a time when the West Coast was being pigeonholed as just the hardcore street shit. Now, I mainly knew them for their 2 biggest hits, Drop from their second album with the backwards music video, and today's song Passin Me By, a beloved classic about unrequited love from the different perspectives of each rapper. And as much as I enjoyed these songs and the different kind of energy they came with as MCs, I was never really able to get into them beyond the surface singles. And I had forgotten the exact reason why. That is until I had to listen to their first album for this review. And was quickly reminded of their very first single, Ya Mama. A song which is, unfortunately, the true indicator of what a good chunk of most of their music is actually like.
Your mom is so fat. Your mama is so big in fact that she can get busy with 22 burritos.
Like, the song's supposed to be about running the dozens and making fun of someone's mom, because, as I mentioned earlier, Pharcyde's appeal was that they had a more fun-loving, jokey aspect of their music than most. But personally, I gotta just say it plain, they're just flat out not that funny to me.
I'm thinking about your mother doing funky bit. I went to your house and she licked me on the cheek.
Yeah, this is the caliber of your mama jokes they're going for here.
On a clip, butt naked, tooting on a flute, riding on a horse, drinking whiskey out of boot.
Got him, I guess. Like, these ain't exactly a cavalcade of knee slappers they're packing here. And there's plenty of consistently funny rappers from the time you can still go back to, like Redman, MethodMan, Digital Underground, where their humor still stands up despite being from the same era, so it can't be an early 90s thing. And I can enjoy a good roasting song. Like, it's not perfect, but I'd go to bat for Lookin' Boy by Hot Styles as a hood novelty classic of the 2000s, because it manages to pull some cheap laughs out of you from the pop culture references and the delivery and timing of the jokes.
Oh, ill, I need love, looking boy. Fake ID cake in the club, looking boy. Remember me from school? Hell no, you get no love, looking boy.
But I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to find funny about this. Oh, you said my mom beatboxed for a famous singer while wearing bright red boxers. Oh no, called my bluff, I guess. What's this even supposed to mean? Is it even supposed to be a diss? Because I'm more confused than insulted. And I'm not kidding, so much of their first album is filled with these goofy jokes that just sound like rejected bits from Richard Pryor's early Chitlin Circuit days. How the hell did this get a pass in 1992? And I can enjoy a freewheeling, freestyle album if it's entertaining enough, but the jokes on this album are so scattershot and straight up childish, a lot of it honestly feels like comedy rap for 4th graders. You know that kind of humor where you just kind of have to think being immature and random in and of itself is funny? And packed with the most meandering skits too. I swear there's like 3 of them before you even get to track 7. It's just an inexplicably frustrating listen. I was so gobsmacked by how thoroughly I didn't enjoy the rest of this album, I legit had to go back and listen to Passin Me By again, just to make sure I actually still liked it. And you know, with all that said, Passin Me By is still an untouchable fucking classic. Like, just to temper the old school hip-hop heads and their 15-year-old born in the wrong generation nephews, I'll say up front I give this song my personal break the scale 6 out of 5 star rating for just how incredible this song is. And, you know, for how arbitrary any rating system may be, I do like to take care to preserve the highest honor for songs that are just this good. Songs that capture an emotion so succinctly that they transcend time and can still reconnect you to the visceral reality of that feeling they're describing. Like, in the one way that the actual Pharcyde album this is from as a whole feels like a journey through the mind of a 4th grader's puerile sense of humor, this song places you right in that 4th grader's mind when he sees his first crush, and all the awkward, uncomfortable, stomach full of bubbling emotions you have to deal with when trying to work out your feelings for them. Now, I'll admit a bias here, because in addition to it always hitting that emotional pitch for me, this song especially has a place in my heart due to the immediate sampling chain tie-in it has to one of my favorite R&B rap remix songs from the early 2000s, Stutter by Joe featuring Mystical. Specifically because for me it was the first song I could remember where an R&B song sampled the melody of a rapper's lyric. Like, of course, the backing music for both songs contained the same dual Quincy Jones-Jimi Hendrix sample. And also there's like a smorgasbord of other samples woven into this Pharcyde song that didn't just take too much time to point out. But it was always interesting to me that Joe, for his remix, also used a part of one of the actual rap verses.
My dear, you do not know me, but I know you very well. Now let me tell you about the feelings I've been for you when I try.
As far as I could ever find, that's an original melody Fat Lip made up for his verse, and it always stuck out to me as really cool for a neo-soul singer to sample an original melody from a rap song, altering it to fit it into a new R&B melodic riff. You know, before a lot of boring people would drain the magic out of the novelty of doing that. But to bring it back, the sample work here lays the perfect sound bed for the song's subject matter, which is just such a universally understandable topic. Cause we were all young at one point and had a first crush we didn't know how to talk to, right? Either because you've got no experience, you're not confident, or you just don't know what to say. And each verse feels like they're unspooling all the angst and frustration over the respective girl they wish they could talk to, dropping glaringly truthful contemplations about their shy, self-conscious feelings.
I haven't gone as far as asking if I could get with her. I just played love by ear and hope she gets the picture. What is the apple of my eye? Overlooking, disregard my feelings no matter how much I try.
Like, even right in the middle of him lamenting why he can't be with her, he has a self-reflective moment addressing his own inaction about actually trying to talk to her.
Wait, no, I did not really pursue my little princess with persistence. That I was so low-key that she was unaware of my existence from a distance I decided.
Of course, the first verse places you squarely in that grade school feeling, with it being about having a crush on a teacher.
When I went to school, I carried lunch in a bag with the apple for my teacher, cause I knew I get a kiss.
And that's a particularly awkward subject matter to bring up, but, you know, the kids are dealing with raging hormones, they can't help who they're attracted to, you know, it happens. Thankfully, though, the rapper makes it clear that this is a one-sided infatuation, not unlike the other verses. As Booty Brown, the rapper in the verse, tries to set up excuses for him to be closer to her.
I would raise my hand to make a snack through my chest. Can you help me with my problem? It was never much. Just a trick to smell his hit. I try to sneak a touch.
And there's a bit of a squicky lyric there that sounds like he's considering actually trying to touch the teacher inappropriately. But within the context of it being a young kid who'd definitely get expelled if that actually happened, I don't think the implication is that it's something he's actually gonna do. I figured through the lingering delivery of his voice in the next line, the implication is it's a sense of longing for that daydream fantasy in his head. The yearning to have the confidence to make some kind of a move.
Oh, wow, I wish I could hold her hand and give her a hug.
While also feeling kinda sour about the guy who does get to be with the person you're pining over.
She was married to the man, he was a thug, his name was Lee, he drove a seat. She had a man, he was a Rudy too, a nincompoop.
Also, I just love the general idea of the word nincompoop being in a rap song. Like, that word just doesn't get used nearly as much relative to how fun it is to say. But yeah, ultimately the rappers all come to accept and understand that these crushes just were not meant to be. And each verse ends a little different, with Slim Kid 3's verse ending by finally getting over his anxiety and actually making his feelings known.
Although she's crazy stepping, I'll try and stop the stride, cause I won't have no more of this Passin Me By.
And Fatlip's verse ends with him mustering the guts to make a bold declaration of his feelings through a note he passes to the girl he likes.
Write her a letter to get it. And it was my dear, my dear, my dear, you do not know me, but I know you very well. Now let me tell you about the feelings I've been for you when I try.
The infamous lyrics themselves personifying through their pain delivery that desperate search to find just the right words to make someone truly understand the way you feel about them, in the hopes that the laying out of the depths of your devotion will inspire them to reciprocate how you feel about them.
Damn, I wish I wasn't such a wimp, cause then I would let you know that I love you so, and if I was your man, then I would beat you.
But then he has to face the rejection, and it sucks, and it hurts.
Valentine's is still the one who loves you dearly. P.S. love me tender, but the letter came back 3 days later. Returned to sender. Damn.
But at the same time, hey, at least you got your answer, and you can move on with your life knowing that this relationship isn't a no-go because you're a coward or because she just isn't aware of how loyal you'd be to her, but because she just wasn't that into you in the first place. And it's a harsh pill to swallow of dealing with someone's romantic indifference in the context of you laying out your passionate desire for them, but the acceptance of those who don't feel for you like you do for them is a reality you have to learn to live with, as the other rappers exemplify with how they end their verses.
Bump the looking glass, I seen her yesterday, but still I had to let her pass. But then I was born not to understand my letting her pass. I proved to be a better man.
It's a pained but graceful acceptance of rejection, the type of attitude that ultimately makes you a better person in the long run, as the verses lead into the solemnly resolved declaration on the hook. Like I said, the song's an unmitigated classic that I can easily see being the soundtrack for unrequited loves for years to come, or just as a musical encasing in amber of the sappy, vulnerable ways those old crushes used to make you feel. And then just to remind you, it's the Pharcyde, they end with a gross, gravelly belch right at the tail end of such a beautiful song. Thanks, guys. That just needed to be there, huh? Well, that's the episode. Leave a like if you liked because it helps, comment if you have something to say because it helps even more, and hit the subscribe button and the bell afterwards because the bell is what actually alerts you to new episodes. And if you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, check out my Linktree for Twitch streams, merch, movie and album review podcasts, and any other stuff I'm up to. So check all that fun stuff out and I'll catch you next time. Peace.